Simon
Aren't you
Kennedy
a,
Ellis,
aren't
as
you-
I live and breathe.
Aren't you I guess a sound for sore ears? What does that mean, a sight for sore eyes? Does it mean it's
I don't know. I suppose it's like you must be like a balm.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah, like you're having a balm poured onto your sore eyes by gazing at this creature
That's
in
right.
front
And
of
my
you.
ears are so sore, so fatigued, so upset from not having heard, because what listeners probably don't know is that
Yeah.
we've been sneaky, haven't we?
I think it's probably a month since we last had a conversation. Is that right?
At least.
At least a
yeah.
month. I have been to... I think I've spoken to you since I went to France, right?
Was that the virtual environment trip?
Yeah.
Yes, you've definitely.
That was right,
Yes, you've talked about. Yes, you've talked about how Portuguese, and then you found your French feet again.
Right, okay. So since then, I've been to Finland and Italy and Portugal. Not in that order. So, yeah. I've travelled the world.
Yeah, travelled the Europe.
I mean, Europe is part of the world.
So good on you. Good on you for all that travelling.
Oh, busy, work is all I can say.
Was it Portugal was not work?
I mean, I'll grant you that. There was a little bit of joy in the middle of a travelly work.
And frankly, judging from the photos from Torino, that didn't look like a whole lot of work either.
Oh, I very, very much beg to differ.
This is a podcast in which two friends talk about the pleasures, absurdities, and imperfections of being human. I'm Simon Ellis.
And I'm Lee Miller. Welcome to Midlifing.
I mean, we've been sneaky because, of course, we pre-recorded a bunch of episodes. So the last one you heard, which was about emotional
affairs,
was recorded a long time ago. So much has happened.
Yeah.
So this will feel like catch up for us, but not for listeners.
Yeah, I have not had an emotional affair. I have just been working.
And neither have I. I haven't had an emotional affair either in the last 4 weeks, which is so that's a good.
I'm sorry.
Good
I'm
from
sorry.
both of us.
I'm sorry. I've seen the pictures of the bread. I think you and the bread have been deeply in love. How's it going?
Oh my! I made a lot of bread this weekend. Yes, I was invited to. There's a harvest festival at in the cathedral, in the bombed cathedral here at Coventry, and so I made 38 loaves of bread, which probably doesn't sound many to...
Oh, if you have ever made a loaf of bread, that sounds like an awful lot.
There was big chunks of dough. It was pretty amazing, actually, just feeling like it was a little bit like a workout.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was... and quite hard work, because I learned something about timetabling bread, which I'd never tried before, and so that was great. And then just really lovely. I was a bit nervous because I've never really sold anything of mine. I mean, I wouldn't say selling dance. I've been to arts markets and failed at those. And an arts market, for listeners, is a place where you literally, as it says it on the tin, is where you go and try and sell your work to art producers. They're very, very odd experiences.
Yeah, super strange. I've only ever been to one in my life, and no thanks.
Yeah, no, it was really, but this was not like that, and it was a chance to sort of meet people who were interested in the bread, or not even, who just were passing by, and it was really lovely, the conversations, and just how I sort of felt. I settled down a bit, and then sold it all, which is great.
Wowzers. Wowzers. Is it starting to turn a profit, or is it still just breaking even, or are you underwriting it with your academic income?
Oh, it's there's no question it's a hobby, because I've had to buy, I guess, 2 major pieces of equipment, which are gonna, they would at the quantity of the quantity of bread I'm making, it would take years to pay those off.
So
But I'm
you
keeping
have
track of
now-
it, which is hilarious. Well, just to give you an idea, this is, I sold 36 loaves of bread for £4 a pop.
Yeah.
And so because normally Rachel at Coles gets a little bit of that, and I didn't get all of it. But in this case, I was getting all of it. And that didn't cover the cost of the extra proving baskets I had to buy in order to make that many loaves of bread. And it's not even including flour or salt or power.
Have you bought a new mixer? Is that the other?
No, I bought a fridge.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, which is in the garage. And I got the dimensions a little wrong.
Oh,
It's
no.
quite possibly the biggest fridge I've ever seen.
I love that.
Well, I don't love it. I mean, it's great in terms of growth, but if I were to fill it with loaves, it would take about 60 loaves of bread, and so that would be a lot of time in the oven at 6 loaves a pop.
Are you still having a lot of fun?
I am. It's really good fun. It's really is. It's just like I've said before. It's just so different from my regular job, and there's something just so well, I just say real about it, or concrete, or something. Not that the bread's concrete, hopefully.
I've seen the photographs. It looks like there's a very good crumb in there.
Yes, it's. That's also a little bit like cake. You never get to taste. You sort of. It's a little bit going on experience that it's going to be right. I guess I'll hear. People.
Well, yeah, it would be weird for you to just like cut the end off and go, I'm just having a little taste. No, this is fine. I'll sell it. £4, please.
I mean, I had all the stuff ready for tastings, but it just wasn't even necessary. I mean, it did go quickly. Like, it went quickly.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's great fun. Yeah.
Congrats.
Although my dear friend Rachel, who normally sells the bread at Cogs here at Coventry on a Saturday morning, described me in an Instagram post as loony. Like, she was trying to get people to go down because there was not going to be bread at her store. She was going to get people to go into the cathedral, and she described me as loony.
What was the context?
He's loony and lovely, or something like that.
I mean, it's not wrong.
Thank you.
That's okay. I just want to. I want Rachel not to feel like she said a mean thing about you.
Oh, I don't think she said
I'm
anything
sure it's
mean
coming
about
from
me.
a place of, it's coming from a place of love, and I think what you're doing is, it's a lot.
I did hear people come up to me and said, "So I believe you're crazy."
Oh, okay. That's probably not the way to start, is it?
Yeah. So, and
I'm not going to be able to help you.
I've been every now and again find myself really irritated by the word bromance.
Oh, okay. Why?
Well,
I don't disagree with you, but why are you irritated by it?
It's that something about. I mean, I guess this is obvious, but it's like men kind of. Anyway, I'm going to say it in a way it's provocative, because I don't really sort of feel quite as strongly as this. But I'm just going to say it's like men can't do anything. Sorry, I can't even. It's just that thing, right? Two men in a friendship. Right? Why can't it be called a friendship, as opposed to turning it into something which is what? A bromance. That it's something like it's okay for men to be friends, or it's okay for men to be, to love each other in a friendly way or something. But it's just something that really, really gets my nerve about the sort of reduction of the complexities, and I think also the difficulty of men being close friends, of men being engaged in an intimate, like an emotionally intimate relationship, without it being reduced to some kind of slightly juvenile kind of catchphrase. There you go.
It's
like if we've got our legs too far apart on a train, then we are, what is it?
Manspreading.
Manspreading, which, which I understand why that's irritating and why men shouldn't. But then also then if we're engaged in intimate relationships, then it's a bromance. Like, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. I think I'm similarly irritated by the idea of bromance and the reductive nature of the word. It's like guy liner. It's like I don't know if you remember that in the in that period of time where we started to become metrosexual rather than. So that was like late
90s. So wait. So guyliner is eyeliner, but for men.
Yeah, for
and
men, exactly.
Yeah, metrosexuals. I certainly remember, being asked. So you're a metrosexual.
Yeah, so that shift away from what we understand as a particular type of masculine that didn't care about its appearance or didn't care about its smell or those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And once again, this idea
or wasn't strutting around, or wasn't it was some kind of a sort of slightly, I was going to say masochistic, but that's not the word I was looking for. Sort of with machismo. There was a
machismo. Yeah. So I guess it's an offshoot of that sort of that 70s display, that kind of very Saturday Night Fever display, or even if to take it into sort of here in the UK, that sort of that Wigan Pier kind of Burberry on working class lads look.
Oh right, what'd you say? Wigan Pier.
Wigan Pier, yeah, like Northern Soul, that whole kind of subculture, where young, relatively poor men were incredibly well dressed in quite high end stuff, which eventually became, reabsorbed into what has been rather problematically articulated as chav culture. Go and read Owen Jones for a critique of why chav is a problematic term. But that idea
chav is not a term that will be familiar to anyone outside the UK.
Yeah, it's. I think it's supposed to come from council housed and violent as an acronym.
That's
chav.
Right. That's right. I heard it. I heard it within days of first arriving in Northampton. What the hell? Yeah.
Yeah, it's fallen out of favour to a certain degree in terms of the word, but I think the idea of it still exists.
Is it owned by chavs, as it were? In the way, have they sort of appropriated it to describe themselves, or has it ever done that kind of work for them? I'm a chav, like kind of.
Yeah, no, I don't think so, because it was always something that was. It was always an external.
Yeah, from the outside.
In my understanding of it. Yeah. As I say, Owen Jones has done a wonderful job of critiquing the language of it, because it is built
that
upon.
Will also not be in the show notes.
But you can find him. Just type in Owen Jones and chav. It's dead easy. But it's built on class hatred. A deep class hatred, and that sense of. In the same way that we're getting those narratives right now that are going on about, obviously the things that are dispossessing the white working classes in the UK are migrants on boats coming across the channel, not billionaires shitting on the planet. That's not the reason that it's all of that's like look over there.
Yeah. But that's those sort of dog whistle type things.
Yeah.
Really, yeah.
But I also think that that's what bromance is. I think that that's what man spreading is. I think it's a look over there-ness rather than asking us to interrogate the way men are socialised as a result of the patriarchy. And it feels like it's all part of the same thing.
And yeah, it is really interesting. And I've never, I like I say, it's just a word that's got under my skin. I realise that it's been getting under my skin whenever I've heard it, because it's been described. I've heard it described of us, you and me, and But there's something you just said. There was something about. It's just that maybe. I can hear a couple of old friends go, "Oh, Simon, just don't take yourself so seriously." Why can't it just be a word that's used to describe two men enjoying each other's company? And there's a certain. So I have that slight in one ear. That kind of why do you need to be like that, or why can't you it's just okay, it's not a big deal, it doesn't mean anything more than it means. And then there's partly, I think there's the sort of, I guess I'll call it the academic side of me, which is a little bit a part of it's about investigating the nature of words and why it is that we call things particular things, right? And so I always get a bit torn about it, but it is definitely a word which I go, oh come on, please give me a break.
But it's hard, isn't it? Because it's difficult to get outside of discourse.
Oh, what does that mean?
It means that sometimes the language that we are using locks us into thinking
without us knowing it, or
without us knowing. Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Yeah. So that idea of bromance effectively limiting, and that's why I want to point immediately back to the patriarchy and go, yeah, the patriarchy is fucking us, because what it wants us to do is continually articulate that men look like this and women look like this, and it dispossesses and reduces and limits everybody. If
you were to, I'm just so distracted because there's I'm going to call her an elderly woman. She's, I don't know how old she is, but she's older than me. And she's standing outside the window in the park, my window in the park, and she's got her hand on a little fence around the outside of a sapling tree. And I can't see her head because it's blocked off by leaves. And she's just doing these amazing little leg circles and little swings, which we used to do in ballet. So she's sort of using the thing as a bar, as a ballet bar. And I'm just really enjoying it, but it's such a distraction from my from the conversation. So if you were to, say I was a really skeptical listener, just say, and how would you most directly draw a line between the patriarchy in this case and the instance or the use of the word bromance? What's the shortest line, the shortest route for you to generate a rationale for that?
It is the reaffirmation of a type of... Oh, no, I'm going to start. That was a shit way to begin. Okay. The shortest line doesn't start with it's
reaffirmation.
The reaffirmation, does it? No. So let's... The shortest line...
It's got redirected through Singapore right there.
Yeah, no, I realise. Sorry about that. The satellite just moved across and it bounced off the wrong dish. What I would say is the shortest line between the patriarchy and bromance is language tells us what's okay. And coded in bromance is I'm secretly wanting to fuck you.
Yeah.
That's what's coded in it. That's what's coded in bromance. Secretly, I want to be buried deep in your guts. That's what it's about. It's about... No, I know that's unnecessarily crass and crude, but that's what that word is in a coded way doing. It's implying... It's built upon homophobia. It's absolutely saying the idea of closeness between men is unnatural and wrong.
Yes.
Because it is saying the idea of us being in some kind of affective and emotional relationship is somehow coded as gay and therefore wrong.
Okay, so I'm with you there, but what if it's also, if I take the side of bromance here, what if it's also, because it does occur to me that maybe there are in some circumstances, definitely it's not working like this for me, but there are some circumstances where it actually functions the opposite way, which is to make it okay, to actually really make it okay to feel for two men to be in a relationship that's not a sexual relationship.
And I would point you back to the question of what's wrong with friendship. We already have words for it.
Yeah,
that word already exists.
Yeah. So it's doing other work, isn't it? It's doing other work than the word friendship.
And that's the thing about when you ask, what do you mean we can't get outside of discourse? What I mean is we can't get away from the fact that the word romance is in bromance, and romantic love, absolutely connects to the idea of physical, sexual intimacy.
Yeah. You're very good. That was very good.
Thanks.
Yeah,
apart from the slight...
reaffirmation.
The reaffirmation.
The little reaffirmation hiccup.
Yeah. I had to remember you asked me the shortest line, not the not the chatGPT. Could you use as many words as possible?
I was going to ask you to explain to me as if I were my grandmother. I've been using ChatGPT a little bit lately.
I mean, who hasn't? ChatGPT is my best friend.
Have you got are you paying for it?
Absolutely. Why would you not? Are you not?
Oh, of course I am.
Of course.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. I found when there was a point when I was trying to write a paragraph for a conference paper, and I couldn't get past just this sentence. I was halfway through the sentence and I could not make words that would take me to a full stop. And I tried and I tried and I tried and I just went, okay, I'm going to ask ChatGPT to finish the sentence. And the sentence that came back was absolutely wrong. It was ridiculous. But what it did was it allowed me to go, oh, right, now I can understand what the shape of it could be, and I can get to the end of the sentence.
Do you know what a minotaur is?
Well, as in from mythology, the half man, half bull.
There you go. Thank you. So it's
in the middle of the maze.
I don't know.
Jason.
That's right. Jason and the Argonauts.
Going to go and get the golden fleece and comes across the Minotaur.
Exactly. And so as a Minotaur, not Minotaur. You say Minotaur, I say Minotaur.
Let's call the whole thing off.
Exactly. So, but it's basically there's a line where the animal becomes human or the bull becomes human or whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I've heard ChatGPT described as there are two different ways of being with it. One is as a minotaur and the other is as a cyborg. And the idea being that sometimes you've got very isolated cases or very particular things that you want it to do, and you turn to it and it does that, and then you bring it back into what you're doing. And then there's the cyborg version, which is much more like you're merging with it, and there's not a clear distinction between you and it. And I've used it in both ways. I've only been reading about that lately, but it's quite a curious thing when you start feeling like you're becoming a dialogue with this machine, or not becoming, but the language is becoming a dialogue with the machine.
How do you feel about the increasing presence of AI?
I mean, I wish we'd talk about the resource costs. I mean, you know this, I suspect, pretty well, but the quantity of electricity used to train these large language models, or not just the language ones, is phenomenal. It's country level quantities of electricity.
Yeah.
So it's a very curious thing we're doing, which is at a time when the last thing we need to be doing is upping our energy needs as we've created, or we haven't created. It's been created for us, completely unregulated. And so I have that's my sort of the main thing that comes up for me. But then there's this question about, it's inevitably a question about authenticity and what that means and what kind of homework is required. My experience of doing it is I'm having to feed a lot of information, which is based on my thinking and my research to get it to produce text that's anything but generic or vanilla.
Yeah. Oh, so, absolutely.
And it feels like quite an interesting exchange. Right? It's actually me coming to understand what the text is, and someone's doing the writing of the text. It's a very curious experience for sure. If you were doing your PhD now, do you think you'd be?
I mean, I can't see why I wouldn't be.
And do you have an ethical problem with that? If a student of yours was doing that now, do you think you'd have an ethical problem with that?
No, the current state of AI would not be able to generate anything like the kind of sophistication that is required to be able to communicate clarity. What it does...
To reaffirm clarity.
I think what it does is it's functioning a little bit like spell check. It's kind of when you put words into it, it's sense check. It's like, does this make sense? Rather than spell check, which is just saying this is spelt wrong, or grammar, which isn't really paying attention to actually how people talk anyway.
Except it's a generative sense checking, though.
Yeah, absolutely. But you can't. I don't think you could leave the raw output to stand for itself, because it just doesn't. It doesn't hold up. And also.
Sorry.
No, I was also saying it's just riddled with inaccuracy. The other day I said, which is bigger, Lisbon or Turin? And it said, Lisbon is bigger than Turin. I said, okay, could you tell me how many people live in Lisbon and how many people live in Turin? It came back and said 567,000 people live in the greater Lisbon area, 880,000 live in Torino. So I said, could you explain to me how 880,000 is smaller than 567? Oh, so sorry, you're absolutely right. I made a mistake. It's like, yeah, you made a mistake, because
sure.
That's yeah. So and that's just one silly example.
So-called hallucinations, right? No, just I stayed in London briefly for some work, and I was walking past some tennis courts, and there were a couple of men playing a game of tennis, and it's very hard for me not to really slow down my walk and watch people playing tennis. I'm fascinated by all of the postures, figuring out very quickly how good or bad they are. I don't mean in a judgmental way. I just mean like going, oh, okay, that person's been playing a long time. And you can even tell that. I think I've said this to you before. You can kind of tell it by the way someone walks or carries the racket, right? That's, it's pretty obvious signs. But anyway, these two were very average, these two men. One of them was playing with his shirt off, and he was, every time he hit the ball, grunting like Monica Seles used to grunt. It was incredible how much he was grunting. The disparity between the sound, the quantity of sound, the loudness of the grunt, and his, let's say, the efficacy of him hitting the ball, or even how hard he's hitting the ball, there seemed to be no correlation whatsoever between these two things. And I was just fascinated by him performing the grunt.
I don't know what to say to that.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.